Can you hear cursed? Because I can't. Sorry, so my radio pulled out a little bit there, but look what we've got. We've got mating lions. Well, looks like mating lions. It's definitely one female and one of the Birminghams. Now, I can't tell which female it is yet, but this is a big surprise. We were busy tracking Tundi and Tamba, who are also in the middle of Djuma and walking around in this area, and we heard a Kudu alarm call, and I thought it was for Tundi and Tamba, and we came back and we managed to see these lions walking through the grass. So I'm not sure who exactly it is just yet, but this is so cool to see, and it's such good news that we're starting to see the lions back on Djuma. It looks like Tinyo from far of the Birminghams, but the female I'm really not sure just yet. I wonder if it's not Amber Eyes or one of the Nkuhumas. Let's just see when they come out. It looks like one of the Nkuhuma lionesses. It does look like the one with the spotty nose. It's difficult behind that branch. But it does look like the Nkuhuma female with the spotty nose. And I wonder if maybe some of the other Nkuhumas aren't here as well. I know that there's been tracks of them up and down, and another pride of lions was just found up in Buffelshoek Hook, and so I wonder if this just isn't some of them. But really, really great news to see, and I'm so excited that we managed to find them. Now I see the Birmingham Boy is coming, so it looks like just the two of them, and this is really very exciting. I wonder if they're not going to go towards Treehouse Dam. But that does look like Tinyo. This is so cool. And she's just coming up here. You can see they're still watching these kudu, so just now you would have heard the kudu barking, and they would have been making this sort of almost dog-like sound, and that was them just shouting at these lions. They saw the male walking. The female looked like she was quite interested in stalking, but unfortunately, when you've got a big clumsy Birmingham boy following you, it makes life a little bit more difficult. Now, he's just laid down again. I think he's watching where she goes, and I'm hoping they're going to come out of this horrible thicket that they're in, because it's not very easy here, and it's certainly not a place for a vehicle to be able to negotiate very well. But I am going to try and see if I can't reposition a little bit so we can get a better view and see exactly which female it is. Now, if any of you out there got a good look and were able to sort of ID this female, then you can let me know on #SafariLive. So let's see how we go with her. Craig, did you see where she went? Now the trick is, when you've got a male and female lion like this, is always to stay with the female, because the male will follow wherever she goes. She's the sort of most important part of the whole process, and so you'll find wherever she moves, he'll often then be close behind her. Now I'm just going to try and see if I can't see where she went. She was somewhere here around this termite mound, but it looks like she's going to go into this sort of horrible thicket and drainage section. No, I can't see her. I think she's gone further down. But let's see if we can't get a view of him then in the meantime. Like I said, not very pleasant. For sure. Yes, well, I can agree with that. I think, like I say, it's difficult because I haven't really gotten a good view of her. Now, this Birmingham male is also standing up a little bit, and so I'm sure he's going to walk, but he's in the horrible thicket as well. Let me go back for you, Craig. It's going to be better if I go back. But there he is. He's just sort of standing, watching her walking along. Now, it's amazing how well these animals must camouflage, because I walked... Well, we actually drove past here already once and didn't see them. We watched the kudu for a bit, and they looked a little bit alert, but they weren't really shouting, and so I thought it wasn't really anything to worry about. But as it turns out, I should have actually trusted our instinct and watched what was going on. Now there he comes. It's definitely Tinyo that's coming past us now, so that's cool to see. And I wonder where the rest are. There were 3 Birminghams together last night, not too far south of our boundary, so I would imagine that the rest of them can't be too far, and particularly if there's a female that's in heat, you'll find that they can get in there. Now, we're going to try and see if we can't keep up with these two, and while we do that, I believe Brent is still with his cheetah in the Masai Mara. We have indeed, Brent. We've managed to now get them right out on the road, and this is so cool. I'm excited that we've got these lions back, and look at how they're sniffing around. Now I wonder if Thandi and Tumba, because their tracks are all over here, and we haven't found them for the last sort of day, but this is where Jamie lost Thandi the other day, and I wonder if maybe, just maybe, there wasn't a kill somewhere in this area that Thandi and Tumba have been on the whole time, and that these lions have now just sniffed it out. But let's see, because the female in front is also, she's definitely noticed something. Maybe they could also be in a sort of stage of hunting as well. Maybe she's seen something close by, but I wouldn't be surprised, because the leopard tracks, in fact, you can just see on the left-hand side of the road here, the lion and leopard tracks coming down. So you can see there's a big disturbance on that left-hand side, and that's where both leopard and lion, you can see the smaller footprints coming towards us are the leopard, and then the lions are on the left-hand side of that. So there's both Thandi and Tumba's as well as these lions' tracks on the road. So I wonder if just maybe the two leopards are not somewhere close by as well, or they had a carcass somewhere close by and these lions can smell it. But let's see, let's just get a little bit further forward. And so from no lions over the last few weeks, now all of a sudden we had the Birmingham Boy, Nena the other day, now we've got the Nkuhuma, it looks like an Nkuhuma female, and a Birmingham Boy coming through as well, which is a great sign. As I was just saying to Craig now, if we've got the females coming back in, that's always encouraging, because that will bring the males back. And if the females are here, oh, look at this, he's going up onto the mound. There is a Lion King moment, if ever there was one. How's that, guys? There we go. That is as epic as it will ever get when it comes to seeing a male lion on top of a beautiful big termite mound in this morning light. That is fantastic. Hello, boy. And he's just watching her. Now she's watching something as well, and I wonder if he just didn't get up there to be able to just to see what's going on. You can see, look at her, look at how intense she is. Her ears are perked up. She's definitely got that body language that she's seen something that she wants to go and investigate further, and he's just watching her. So he's taking cues from her at the moment, and so she's the one that we need to sort of watch and see what she does. And I was thinking that she might come up the mound before the male did, but it seems she's seen something else. Well, Lady Starfire, you're wondering if we could see a lion hunt as well as this cheetah hunt that you've seen this morning? Well, it's very possible. You never know with lions, but they seem like they've seen something, so we'll just have to wait and see. We also had Tingana calling around this area as well, so there's maybe, just maybe, they've spotted another cat, or they are definitely going to go on a hunt. Let's see how we go. She's got her nose down and she's still walking slowly in the direction that she's looking. She's kind of just flanking off to our left here. Now it's going to be difficult for her if she's on her own, because the males typically get in the way more than anything else. So Chris, you're wondering if it's a lie that males don't hunt. If it is a lie, males hunt very, very efficiently. They're just not as good as hunting smaller prey animals than what the lionesses are. The lionesses tend to camouflage a little bit better, and so for things like impalas, zebras, wildebeest, it's a little bit easier for the lionesses. They don't have that big mane that stands out, and so you find that they'll be able to kind of get a little bit closer, and they tend to be a little faster because they're not actually as bulky as what the males are. The males tend to be very big, very bulky, and so it means that they tend to chase much slower animals. So you'll find they'll go after buffalo quite a lot, and these Birmingham boys are probably some of the best buffalo hunters out here. When they first arrived on the scene and they were at Simambili the one night, the 5 of them managed to bring down 7 buffalo. So between 5 lions, 7 buffaloes, which was absolutely amazing. So they can hunt incredibly well. They don't need the lionesses to hunt, but the lionesses tend to be able to camouflage better and therefore get closer to animals, and it could be just a little bit easier for them to catch those fast, fleet-footed individuals. But you can see, look how he's watching. I think he's quite happy on his mound, but he knows as she drifts off, he's got to keep up, so I'm sure he's going to stand up now. Look, you can see he's watching her just disappearing, and he knows if he gets too far away, he might lose sight of her, so that will drag him to get up. But while he's sitting there, just look at the size of his feet. He's got the most massive feet. Look, there we go. They are huge. That is awesome. Now down he goes, unfortunately. But that is as good a picture as you're going to get of a male lion. You can see he's looking quite slim as well. It could definitely do with a meal. So what happens is a lot of the time when they're mating like this, or in a sort of wanting to mate situation, you'll find that they don't actually hunt too much and they don't feed too much. So they'll take an opportunity if it comes their way, but it's not their primary goal. And so you'll find that they kind of become quite slender during the mating period. They're also exerting a lot of energy, and so they then also lose a little bit of condition. What's interesting to me though is if it's not the young Nkuhuma female and it's not Amber Eyes, why she would be with a male by herself is very interesting. So, David, you're wondering if our heart pumps faster when we're this close to lions? Well, yes, it does. It's so exciting. And just because we haven't seen so many lions in the last few weeks, it's been tough when it's coming to lions. So to be able to find them and spend time with them and have them walk right past you definitely gets that blood pressure up and get that heart beating. So really, really is an exciting time. Now, I'm hoping that they're not going to go too much more in this direction because it gets so dense in here again. So I want them to just kind of slow down a little bit and stay in the open section. Now, we're going to follow our lions and carry on, and I believe Jamie on walk has now found herself a rather large animal to show you as well. I don't think it is a Styx lioness. It looks like Amber Eyes to me. There's those deep amber colored eyes that are busy staring at us through the grass. So I think it's her. I don't think it's it's definitely not one of the Styx lionesses. So it looks like Amber Eyes indeed. Now I'm sorry earlier, Jamie, I thought you said that I thought you had an elephant, not just its dung. So hopefully you will find the animal that left that behind, because otherwise I've sold you down the river completely. Now it's strange, she was walking with such purpose and now she's just lay down in the grass and almost looks as though she's going to sleep. So I don't know what she spotted that she was striding through here, but she's decided that this is where she's going to nap. For now, the male is not visible. He's right behind a bush there. You can just see a bit of his mane just sticking out from behind that bush willow, so that one where the branch is hanging over, Craig. So now what's interesting is that Taxon says he's got the 5 Nkuhumas, but the Styx lionesses do not have eye colors like this. They are not that way, and they also don't look like this. The 3 Styx look a little bit different. So I don't know, maybe it is a Styx lioness, and maybe with all the grass obscuring her face, it's not her, but those eyes are very, very deep in amber color. So I would be very surprised if it wasn't her. So, Aaron, you're wondering if it could be a Torchwood female. It's possible. The Torchwood Pride do have females with these sort of amber-colored eyes, but I really don't know them well enough to be able to tell you. But that lioness is not a Styx lioness. That's for sure. Well, in my mind, it's not. Like I say, a lot of you out there know the lions a lot better than I do, but that doesn't look like a Styx lioness to me. She looks quite young. Her ears are not too tatty, and those eyes are a deep sort of butterscotch color. So maybe a Torchwood lioness, it could be possible, but this would be way out of her range. And they've come from the south, so they've come from further sort of south of the reserve. I wonder, actually, if this might not be one of the breakaways from the Mangain Pride. I know they've got a new name on Mala Mala, which I have no idea what it is, but they were hanging around a lot on the Mala Mala boundary a few months ago and weeks ago, and I know that the Birminghams have been down that way, and I wonder if maybe they haven't pulled one of those females up here. It could be. So people that know all of these prides or have access to the information, maybe you guys can have a look through those females too, because it might be one of them. But it's definitely not a Styx lioness. Always so exciting when we have these kind of things, when we have to decode the mysteries of which lions we actually have here. I would like for her to just stand up a little bit. It would definitely help in sort of IDing her, but those ears are far too clean and rounded for it to be any of the sort of older lionesses. You can see, look, there's hardly a nick in them. Those are all sort of very, very clean, both ears looking perfect. So it's not a very old lioness, that's for sure. And the nose is quite spotty. And then, like I say, butterscotch coloured eyes. So, interesting. I wonder who you are. I suppose it could be a Styx lioness. I haven't seen them for a while. I almost forgot what lions looked like for a time being. But this week has certainly reminded us. Amazing the camouflage though. When you see her lying in grass like this, and you think when she drops her head down, how difficult it must be to actually see her. If you look at where her hips are in that long grass, it's really, really tough. The color is absolutely perfectly matched to this grass. It really doesn't stand out at all. You can see there, look at that. Isn't that coloration great? And so when she drops her head down, she just disappears completely in this. And it's no wonder we sometimes drive past these lions. If they're lying flat down with their heads down, it really is not easy to see them at all. And like I say, the male is behind her, but you won't be able to see him. It's very, very tough. So there we go. If you can spot the male in that, I'll be quite impressed. But he's just to the right-hand side there in the bush. So he's over there. His mane is just sticking out the corner over there somewhere. You should be able to just see there that his mane is sticking out. So he's really blends in very well. Now that's why lions do so well when it comes to hunting, is that in situations like this, and in particularly in the winter months when they have this drier coloured grass, they blend in incredibly well. And on top of that, the other animals have also lost a little bit of condition, so it makes it much easier for them to be able to hunt in winter time. So they'll be relishing the fact that the grass is starting to change colour a little bit and become this tawny white colour. It really does work for them. Now it's definitely not a lioness from the Salala Pride, because I know those lions too, so I have no idea where this lioness could come from. It's not Amber Eyes. Now that I can see her kind of side profile, she doesn't have that same face that Amber Eyes has got, so it's definitely not her. Anyone's guess really. Like I say, we'll have to do some searching. There's a bit of the whisker patterns there for those of you that use the whisker patterns to ID the lions. There you can see what her whisker pattern is. So we'll have to try and decode the mystery. So a lot of you say you don't know. My guess would be it's either the Torchwood Pride or these Mangan breakaways that have been hanging around on Mala Mala. Those would be the two that I would kind of look at, and maybe we can find an ID for one of them. But the interesting thing is, like I say, is that they are very, very far south into Djuma, and they've come in from Weaver's Nest, Gowrie Main area, which is, like I say, right on the southern boundary, in all likelihood a Sticks area. That's where the Sticks hang around mostly. So it's strange that she's come from that direction. I would love to know what the movement was last night for her to get to where she is. Either way, she's beautiful, and like I say, it's always exciting when we get new lionesses around that we don't really know. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not she sticks around. So Dina, you say if she is a breakaway lioness, how would the Nkumas react? Now I've got a Kudu alarm calling behind me, which I wonder if there isn't this leopard somewhere close by. Now, there we go, you hear that? There's no ways that they could have seen these lions. It's impossible from where that Kudu is, and the lions are also watching. See, look how she's listening now? I wonder if we're not going to have a leopard bumping into us. Wouldn't that be exciting? Right, so what we were talking about is whether or not they would chase this lioness away if the Nkumas found her. Well, most certainly they would not want a lioness in their territory that they don't know, and they would definitely push her out if they could. So they would make sure that they could try and get her away and get her out of here, and if they kill her, that also could happen. You'll find sometimes that these lionesses will attack, and they can actually kill a lone lioness like this. Now, I'm wondering why this Kudu is alarm calling. I wonder if we shouldn't just quickly go and have a look. These lions look as though they're not going to go anywhere, so I'm going to quickly just go check where that Kudu is alarm calling, in case it just has seen these guys. But it will be worth going to go and have a little look. Oh, I don't know, her face, I must check. I have some photos of the Torchwood Pride. I think she might be a Torchwood lioness that is here. Now I want to quickly go and have a look at these. Now I'm going to quickly just try and head to where these Kudu are alarm calling, and while we do that, I believe Brent's Cheetah is up and moving. Well, I think our lions are done for the day. They've both passed out flat flat. You can see our male is fast asleep there. So Tinyo's done his thing. He did a bit of scent marking and then he lay back down again. And those kudus that were alarm calling, I found them, but there's no sign of anything else. We were looking everywhere around there, and it looks like the kudu were just staring at us. So maybe they saw us, and then there might have been a bit of a breeze blowing on towards them, and these lions' sort of scent might have drifted towards those kudu, and that's why they were alarm calling and just sort of making their presence known. It also could be what this lioness was spotting. So, Wendy, you wonder if the lions know that they camouflage. Most certainly, they know that long grass is their asset. That's why when they hunt, they'll try and use it to their advantage. They try to get into these longer grass areas to be able to hunt and to be able to move around, because they know that it conceals their approach. So, lions are very clever with that. You'll watch, same as leopard, when they're hunting, they'll often use thickets and long grass, and they'll kind of watch an animal and see which way it's going, and then they do big loops around using the cover of thickets and grass areas. So they know for sure that that protects them and hides them, and that's how they're able to hunt. They learn it over time, you know, as they're cubs and they watch their mothers, and then they start doing hunts of their own. They start to realize that if they walk out in the open, that they get seen, and that doesn't help. So you'll find that they then learn that they need to get lower and try and hide themselves as much as possible in order to get close to these antelope. The antelope out here are not stupid animals, and they have to be very clever and very keen with their senses, because otherwise the lions would just massacre them. So the lions have also worked out that the antelope have very good eyesight, very good sense of smell and hearing, and therefore they need to be very cognizant of the fact that they have to use wind direction, sun, places to hide in order to be able to be successful when it comes to hunting. I was just saying to Craig now, if you didn't know these lions were here and you were driving around, there is absolutely no way that you would spot them. We are parked no more than, I would say, 12 feet from these lions, and even then, look how difficult it is to see that female. The male's a little bit easier because we've got a bit of a gap, but the female just blends in completely. She's almost not visible there from this distance. So you can imagine now, when they were 100 meters away and you driving past, how easy it is to miss these lions. It is incredible just how well they blend in. But I would imagine that that's pretty much it for the day. We're not going to probably see too much more from these lions in terms of activity, unless something comes in and that they end up chasing it like the leopards or some sort of prey species. I think this is where they're going to sort of spend their time. The other interesting thing is that this female and male combination, they can't have mated yet, because yesterday, like I say, all three of the Birminghams were together, and Tinyo was there with them. So, and 2 nights ago, all 4 were together. So it means that they have to, in some way, this female must have joined last night, and so this is the beginning parts of the mating. There's lots of chasing each other around, and that's why we haven't seen any copulation yet, but I would imagine by this afternoon, maybe, they'll start to actually do some proper mating, and we'll be able to see them. Also, we didn't have any sort of sound of them mating prior to us finding them, which is often how you do find mating animals, is because they make a lot of noise, and so I would imagine that this afternoon, they're going to be possibly doing what they do best when it comes to mating, and that will be doing the actual act. And so hopefully we'll see over the next 2-3 days. The other interesting thing is that her sort of general movement has been in a northeasterly direction, which would also tend to suggest that she possibly is from the Torchwood Pride, because she'll know that if she heads in that direction, she's heading back towards safety. So it'll be interesting to see how they go tonight and what direction she takes when they wake up this evening, and we'll definitely come here this evening to be able to try and see which way they do go. But wasn't that an amazing surprise? Out of nowhere. That was very cool. And the fact that we just drove that road and there wasn't even a track for a lion. We were busy tracking a running hyena, which we then found at Treehouse Dam. And then we came around and I was busy 1 foot with the tracks for Tundi and Tumba when we heard the kudu barking, and these guys popped out of nowhere. So where they came from, I have no idea. We must have just missed them driving around the first time, because like I say, there was no tracks for lions anywhere there. But there we go. That's our sleeping honeymoon couple. I think we're probably going to leave them to it and try and see if we can't go and find Tundi and Tumba, since their tracks are not too far from this area. We'll go and just do a couple of loops around and see if there is any sign of them, and leave these two to it and having a good nap now. Unfortunately, we've managed to damage Rusty on our way in as well. Rusty now has no brakes, so I need to remember that when I'm driving around. I'm hopefully not going to crash into anything, which